Welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. In our first story, I am the manager and you need to leave forever. Let's jump right in. To set the scene, I was the manager of an outdoor pool years ago that resembled a small water park, and this pool was in the valley of the upper class region in Colorado Springs. The pool had several water slides with weight-height requirements, a decently long and winding lazy river, one of those mushrooms that pour water all along the edge, and a structure in the zero-entry portion of the pool that was meant for smaller children that wore red wristbands. A red wristband meant that a child was either under the age of 5 or unable to pass a swim test, both of which meant that a parent or guardian had to be within arm's reach of the kid wearing the red wristband at all times. This is pertinent to the story. It was the beginning of the season, and a solid third of my lifeguards were 16 and 17-year-olds working their first jobs that had also just graduated a lifeguard course that I'd co-taught. This detail is important. It'll be good to remember later that many of my guards were extremely green and had never made an actual rescue before, though they were well trained and competent. It was a Saturday morning. Most patrons were pass holders and could come and go as they pleased. The problem family of the morning held no such pass and had to pay at the door for 2 children and 1 adult. Problem Dad tried to send his kids through to the locker rooms without paying for them, which wasn't a great start to his day. He said he didn't realize kids weren't free and the front desk girl let him in. Both children ended up wearing red wristbands. Problem Dad threw a mini fit when the girl at the front desk told him he'd have to be within arm's reach of his small kids at all times, but conceded and entered the pool area. Problem Dad was on my radar within an hour for attempting to allow both of his kids to go down a slide reserved for green wristbands. He also walked away from his kids several times to be whistled at by a guard and shooed back to his kids that were always in the water. He was given a final warning by one of my head guards and told he'd have to leave if he broke a rule again. Next thing I know, I hear the long whistles that indicate a guard is jumping into the water to make a rescue. I see the other guards shift stations like they're supposed to, and a head guard go get the AED first aid kit and my attention to call 911. They're working like a well-oiled machine. I speed walk to the point of the rescue just in time to see one of my brand new guards pulling a 5-year-old boy out of the lazy river. He's alone. I immediately recognize that he belongs to Problem Dad and look around for him. No sooner than I spot him do I realize he is pissed. The guard that pulled the kid out of the lazy river has laid him down on the concrete and he's coughing up water, but is fine. The head guard tries to help him up, but the dad rips him out of that guard's hands and starts screaming at and downright berating my 17-year-old guard that made the rescue. He can swim just fine. What are you doing? You scared him crapless. Are you stupid? I have absolutely zero tolerance for bullying, let alone for a grown man screaming at a kid for doing their job, so I immediately step in and tell him to calm down. He turns his attention towards me, gives me a quick head to toe once over, and demands the manager. I didn't wear makeup to this job, am fair-skinned with red hair and freckles, and was wearing a guard suit with guard shorts instead of manager's clothes, because I had been filling in for a head guard during their lunch. I looked about 20 and still do now, at 32. Nevertheless, I was in charge. I am the manager, sir. Ha! The real manager, someone that can legally buy a beer. Where is he? I am the only manager. I am 26 years old and I am in charge of everything here. He went on to claim he'd been mere feet from his son and was about to help him since he was struggling when the girl over there jumped in and caused a scene, scaring him. I'd not seen the rescue from the start, so I asked the head guard what happened, though I already knew. He told me the boy was fully submerged in the current of the lazy river, and if the guard hadn't jumped in, he'd have likely been getting CPR as we spoke. I looked back at Problem Dad and said he owed my guard an apology and a thank you. He snorted and told me that wasn't going to happen, So I told him he was no longer welcome in my pool. Problem Dad threw a big fit, this time demanding a refund and threatening to get me fired and calling us all names. I refused the refund and walked right on his heels until he was through the facility and out the front door, where he continued to yell, and I called the cops. They came fast, as this wasn't a terribly uncommon occurrence at our affluent pool. He was trespassed and he ruined any chance of summer fun for his kids that year. I told the cops to talk to him about dry drowning and to insist his kids see a doctor, and wiped my hands of the situation. When I made it back inside, the girl who'd made the rescue was having a full-blown panic attack in the guard room. She was sobbing, saying she had no clue how she saved him, that the man was right and she was an idiot, and more. I comforted her and told her that her training kicked in and she did everything she was supposed to do, potentially saving the kid's life. Then I gave her the rest of the day off, and I bought her some nachos and a soda. The next weekend we did an in-service based on lazy river rescues, and my green little guard was awarded Lifeguard of the Month, which she and her mom bragged about all summer. Problem Dad called to complain about me to my manager, who'd read my incident report and was promptly told he should be glad his kid didn't die, the wristband protocol, that lifeguards have final say in safety measures at all times, and that the little girl manager had final say in trespassing him. The end. Story number 2. Free seat entitled couple gets karma served for 14-hour flight. This happened while I was married. I still tell the story now and get a lot of smirks and haha yes karma at her best comments. So my husband, now ex, and I were one of the last to board the plane, as he had misplaced his boarding ticket and we had to search for it. When we got on, we were walking up the plane and could see our row. The plane was pretty much full and all settled in. A couple older than us sat in our row of 3. I checked our tickets and then asked the couple what seats they were supposed to be in, as those were ours. They refused to move. They had scored 3 seats to their 2 bottoms, whereas the row in front had a very slim girl at the window. The air hostess came over, and as they were older and playing the age card, the hostess asked us to sit in the seats in front. My husband argued that in the event of an accident, our names were not on the right locations. However, the hostess said she would swap these over. So we sat down next to the slim girl who took up no room whatsoever. The couple behind were very loudly gloating at their win and discussing how they would have a very pleasant 14-hour trip home. My husband told me as soon as we can to recline the seats, as he was pissed by their gloating. So here we are, settled, when this man starts walking up the plane. He was a very, very large man, long dreadlocks, shoving a baguette in his mouth as he made his way up the aisle. My husband just looked at me and smiled as he realized the only spare seat was that window seat, which would have been next to mine. And yes, karma took a dump on the gloating couple's lap as the man asked them to move so he could get into his seat. Once settled, he took up a lot of the space, and once in the air, the lady called a hostess down and started having a strop about how we had stolen their seats and that we had refused to move when they boarded. Sadly for the lady, our argument at the start of the flight had been witnessed by the staff, as everyone else was settled by then, so she was shut down by the staff, who refused to move us. They had a miserable flight, as the guy kept getting up for the toilet, extra drinks, and extra snacks. Whoever he was a complete gem of a human being. This is John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to be the first to know when the next one drops, then subscribe and hit that notifications bell. I'd love for you to drop a like, do all that stuff, share it with your friends. See you in the next one.